Hello. Welcome back. Do I even need to do intros? Do the 5 people of you who are still watching even care if I do an intro? Because most of the time that just takes up your time. I don't want to do lengthy intros. I don't tell you to like or subscribe or anything like that. Because I'm not a clickbaity YouTuber whose over-reliance on YouTube shows that I don't have another life. I do have another life. It's still boring, but YouTube isn't my thing. Or isn't my whole thing. I don't fucking know. Either way, I'll just do an intro. Fuck it. What you are staring at, like that you saw this last episode, this is one of my favorite games of all time. Right up there with Five Nights at Freddy's. A little below, like, FNAF is S tier. Bendy is like the tip of A tier, borderline S tier. Like, due to some backgrounds, which I might get into later. Or some background problems, studio problems, developer problems, controversies. Ugh. This is Bendy and the Ink Machine. One of, in my opinion, the greatest games of all time. It's at least the first half. The second half is so-so. I literally had my room, before this amazing teal, decorated as Bendy stuff. I have cutouts in my fucking basement. Should I go get the Fuck it. Wait right here just a second. You didn't believe me. What the fuck would you call this? Yeah, I own these. I own this. It's a life-size Bendy cutout. It went in my room about a couple of years ago before I renovated. Oh my god, I should not be this tired from walking up fucking stairs. But either way, here he is. In case you need a proof that I like this game. I'll leave him over here for now. Yeah. Wait, there are plushies, I forgot. I also have plushies of the little fuckers. This is Boris. He's another character in the game. Get back there. And this is Bendy. I like Bendy. I do love Bendy. I sold the rest of them. This is all I have. I'll... You know what? Put them right there. Just to show my love. And you two, you can be right there. Bendy and the Ink Machine. What's it about? It's about a man named Henry Stein who gets a letter from his old pal Joe, from an old friend named by the name of Joey Drew, telling him to come back to a studio that they used to work at together, and that he would like to show him something. Actually, I'll just start the fucking gameplay. Give me the... Quit. Do that, please. Start this. Yeah, don't care. Sorry about... There. Okay. I'll... Dear Henry, it seems like a lifetime since we worked on cartoons together. 30 years really slips away, doesn't it? If you're back in town, come visit the old workshop. There's something I need to show you. Your pal, Joey Drew. That is the letter. Yes, I figured you guys would like this gameplay in the background while I talk about it. So, this game is an episodic one, as in, one episode would be released at the start, the rest would be released at other given intervals.
I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see.
So, certain objectives are scattered throughout. Each chapter, you have to do things to get around the studio. Shut the fuck up, Henry. I don't care right now. Hang on. There we go. Okay. So the chapters are essentially little bits of one big story. The game ran from 2017 to 2019. I think. I'm gonna find this out. Hold on. Fuck. Move, Bendy. Uh, 2017 to 2018. That's how long it lasted. And in that time, 5 different chapters were released. Chapter 1, Moving Pictures. Chapter 2, An Old Song. The rest, Chapter 3, I can't fucking remember. Chapter 4, I also can't remember. Chapter 5, The Last Reel, which is the last chapter. This game is kind of like the equivalent to a... Oh, remember, if you know Cuphead, you know how Cuphead was like 1930s animation? That was his whole like art style. This is kind of like this is like very early animation. Like the fuck? Oh, he's going into okay. This is like very early animation, like when they were still frame by frames, like when animation reels were just very fast moving pictures, and you would notice it. So like black and white, the whole spiel of early like 1920s, I think it was or 1920s. I don't know how long animation was fucking around, dude. 1920s because Cuphead was 1930s. Let's go with that. That explains why the entire environment is like all orangish and orange and blackish. There's my cutout. Because it's meant to give off the vibe of being inside of an animation, or from that era of time. You can tell it's the 1920s because there are different posters scattered throughout the facility telling you to like buy war bonds and shit. Like along with cartoon or animation posters like Little Devil Darlin', Dancing Demon, that kind of stuff. So essentially, it's just an animation company in the style of 1920s. I overcomplicated that explanation alone. So also from the gameplay, you can see there are also tape recorders scattered throughout the facility of workers who had previously worked there, because you're coming back to this facility long after it's closed, and just because your old pal wanted to show you something. So you're getting to hear the diaries, essentially diaries of the old workers, and basically slowly discovering why the place was abandoned or maybe closed or shut down indefinitely. Henry was a worker there. Henry and Joey, the two pals, Henry was the guy who got the letter from Joey. They were the ones who founded this place. It's called Joey Drew's Studios. And Henry decided to leave, decided to leave a little bit in, so Joey was left on his own to take over the company, and, shortly after it closed. I will explain that later, if I can. I'll explain it later in due time. Maybe like a part 2 or some shit, because I guarantee you won't watch like a 40-minute video. At least not anymore, so I will try to keep it nice and clean for this first part. Got it? This is definitely going to be this is going to definitely be a couple part series. But don't expect back-to-back releases. I did it with FNAF just because FNAF lore funny, but this is complicated as shit. So expect it to take some time. I may do one or two little extra videos in between them, or I may do one or two videos in between them solely because of variety and keeping people on board. But yeah, I'll cover like a couple chapters today. So the gameplay starts out with just you lurking around the facility trying to figure out what your old pal wanted to show you. You eventually come across this room where, let me see if I can find it. There. Uh, where you discover supposedly what your old friend, what Joey Drew, wanted to show you. I'll just let the chains rise. Panned because that's important. That's very important. That the machine right there is very important. That's the reason all of this shit is happening. Um, what it is the ink machine, and and it is a very complicated device. It essentially, what it did, what its original purpose. Actually, I'll save that for a future chapter. Or for the future. For right now, you just know that there's a giant fucking ink machine, and it I can't. Oh my god. I'm so sorry if you have to put up with my poor explanations and me repeating stuff. Um, let's just continue. The machine is empowered. You have to go to a different room, and you discover like these object pedestals that are required to power it. Like there are 6 objects that you need to find that are scattered throughout the small facility. Uh, and it's very weird, but at the recording from Wally Franks that played essentially just showed that Joey was a bit of a nutcase. Joey Drew, the solo, the one of the co-founders that took over the company, he was a bit of a crazy one. He told employees to donate objects to appease the gods, but everyone thinks he's weird and a nut job, but they have to abide because he's the founder. He writes the checks. And the ink machine is very, very, very expensive, and the pipes burst constantly around the facility. The ink pipes. So it's essentially a very, very difficult, annoying task to keep this ink machine maintained. That's just a small hint as to why. There's also a random darts game. That's irrelevant though. So you gather the objects, you place them on the pedestals, and then you need to like get pressure going. You need to control the pressure. So you go and find a valve. You get jump scared by that cutout I showed you a few times throughout the game, and because it's a horror game, I forgot to mention that. How did I forget to mention it was a horror game? What is wrong with me? I am a failure for mentioning that. Or for not mentioning it. It's a horror game. Got it? Anyway. You get the pressure going. You turn on the machine. I'll cut to the part where he turns on the machine. Let me get to it. Turn on the ink machine. There we go. Okay. So you gather all the objects, you get the pressure flow going, and then you turn on the ink machine. Like so. And just like that, everything gets very dark. And so you go to visit the ink machine. I can't fucking do this. Is that... Yep, Bendy scares ya. and you are now forced to flee the facility because ink goes everywhere, and this place is flooding. You think you get to the exit. In case you couldn't see that, the floorboards just broke under you, so you are essentially now trapped beneath the facility in an attempt to escape Bendy. That was like his nickname's the Ink Demon, mostly because the ink has like melt. This is what it's like. This is what he looks like. So like his eyes are gone. It's just his like smile. Um, that's all that's left of him. He's become like a monster, and now you are forced to navigate the rest of the facility in an attempt to escape, find answers as to what the hell happened to your company, and most of all, survive. Definitely survive. You meet a bunch of different characters along the way, such as the different characters that were featured in the animations that the company made over the years, like Boris the Wolf. That's him. Alice Angel, I would show you, but I sold her. I don't want to. Can I find it? Please tell me I can find it. Where is she? Where's Alice? Alice Angel. Where the fuck? There. You can barely see her. Here, I'll try to get you a good photo. That's her. Wait, no. Fucking damn it. There. That's her. Fucking damn it. Using a phone to record sucks. That's her. She looks like a fallen angel from hell. It's really creepy. So, basically, survive in this giant underground facility with monsters looking around every corner and at the same time trying to survive. My explanation cannot do it enough justice. You truly have to play it for yourself. I would play it, but, it would defeat I would play it, but that would defeat the entire point of calling this a Fireside Chat video, so I reluctantly had to turn it down. Unless you just want me to show you the title screen. I don't think we need this anymore. Let's just fucking go to the title screen. This is getting confusing. So, Henry just goes around the facility, does tasks, like, gathers stuff, like, kills enemies and shit, meeting friends die. It's truly a roller coaster. Whether that's a good or bad roller coaster, it remains to be seen. You have to play it for yourself to form a full opinion. But the point of this, can I even explain every chapter? God. I don't want to explain every chapter. This whole video has been a mess. Much like Bendy and the Machine itself. I explained chapter 1. You get jump scared by Bendy at the end. You fall through the floor, and you walk up. You find an axe while turning valves to lower the ink level so you can actually walk. You find an axe. You break down some boards. You are led into a room with a pentagram. Visions flash as you step on the pentagram and you pass out. That's chapter 1. Then there's chapter 2, which is called The Old Song. You wake up. You keep walking. You go around some rooms, listen to some more audio recordings. Specifically one of a man named Sammy Lawrence, who is kind of like a worshipper of Bendy down there, like down here in the underground. He wears a Bendy mask. He's like entirely made up of ink, head to toe, literal black, full black. Like if you poked him, you would probably get stuck to him because he's inky. And You go through some recordings, like kill these monsters called searchers, which are essentially like which are essentially like um, puddles of ink on the floor, but they have a head and hands and can attack you. So you kill those, you do some tasks, you eventually find an exit, but right before you can get to it, you are knocked out by Sammy Lawrence, who then ties you up and tries to offer you to Bendy like some sort of creepy sacrifice. But then Bendy kills him instead. Uh, so you manage to escape, kill some more like hand searchers, break down the boards. Then you get chased by Bendy, and then you run away because you can't beat Bendy. He's like God down there. There's a reason Sammy worshipped him. Uh, then you escape, and then you find Boris, and that's the end of chapter 2. Oh God. Can I just say I'm sorry? I cannot say I'm sorry enough because, oh my God, this whole entire video has just been a slog. I thought this was going to be way better to talk about in my head. It's not. It's way harder to explain than I thought. I can't do my commentary while trying to explain the gameplay at the same time. But I can sure as hell try. I'll stop there with the chapters, but I'll keep explaining Bendy and the Ink Machine in general. Because, God, it's hard to explain. So, Bendy's favorite game, one of my favorite games of all time. I own a lot of merchandise of the guy. I did this video because the sequel for the game is coming out soon. It's called Bendy and the Dark Revival. The creators of the game even took down the merch store and replaced it with "We will reopen when the Dark Revival begins," because that's the name of the sequel, Bendy and the Dark Revival. And unlike that game, unlike Bendy and the Ink Machine, Bendy and the Dark Revival is going to be one big game. They're not going to do episodic shit. So I'm definitely hyped for that, but I also have my doubts. A lot of my doubts. A lot. A lot of my doubts. But I guess we just have to keep our heads up, keep our chins up, keep our frontal lobe up. I don't fucking know. Our cranium, brains. Why didn't I say brains first? I'm very excited for Dark Revival, but I can't help but feel worried because the people who made this, who are literally called Joey Drew Studios, like their company is the name of the company they made up in the game. They haven't had a good track record. Essentially what they did was like during the development of Bendy, they like stole fan theories and took them into the actual game, like the ending of chapter 5. They fired like a lot of people on Christmas Eve. There have been talks of employee abuse, crunching, which leads to mental and health problems. It's just a very shady studio. The people who work behind it haven't had the best track record and have had their decent share of controversies for trying to get this game out, and essentially they had to take a lot of shortcuts to make that happen in time. I love this game, but I hate the developers. You can do that. That is an acceptable thing you can do. You can like a game, but you can hate the people who make it. Take for example this year's Bendy ripoff, Poppy Playtime. One of the shittiest. Ugh. God. What am I doing? Why am I talking about Poppy Playtime? Let me just rip the Band-Aid off. I've got nothing else to fucking talk about. Get these out of here. I don't need these. Poppy Playtime. One of the most controversial releases, indie horror releases recently. Not only does it seem like it's taken aspects from literally every generic indie horror game, or should I say, horror for kids. That's essentially what a lot of indie horror games have become. Horror games that can be marketed towards children so they can sell merchandise and make money instead of making an actual quality game. It's like Security Breach. It's like what the entirety of FNAF has started to become. Security Breach. There's a reason I haven't played it, I haven't finished it, and it's because I just can't bring it up. I just can't get the energy to do so. It's got such a bad rep because it was such a buggy game at launch. It was so incomplete, and yet there was merch. I have a fucking Glam Rock Freddy plushie, for Christ's sake. I bought it. I bought the fucking... all this is it can just be so it can be marketed towards kids, when in reality it's just a shitty game with a bunch of brands that only cater to like 10 to 12-year-olds that have enough money to ask their mom to go to GameStop to go buy a plushie. Jesus Christ. It's what Bendy became. I just showed you a cutout. I made my room Bendy, for Christ's sake. I fell for it. I bought into it. Horror for kids is a fucking sin. It ruins any potential of a good horror game that game has just to make a quick buck. When in reality you could sell so much more if you had an actual quality game. But no, you just have to focus on the merch, t-shirts, plushies. Why do that? Well, you could spend that time in those employees and those salaries making a good fucking game. I'm sorry, I really hate this game, if you can't tell. The rant of horror for kids is a very, very niche topic that so many people just immensely hate, and I am one of them. It's because I really started to hate it. I really started to hate it when FNAF became it. Like, Security Breach right now is a good game, kind of, but let's not forget the fact that it launched in such a buggy state that so many people had game-breaking bugs and issues. So many, people could barely play it and just flat out refused to play it because of... Well, not flat out refused, because the hype for Security Breach was so high that everybody had to play it. But still, the problems with Security Breach were so big that... that even I had to put it down. I need to pick it up again. That's why. It's gotten patches, it's gotten updates. So far I heard it's okay, but I barely even gotten into the lore of Security Breach. And do you want to know why? Because most of it now is so fucking complicated. I spent more than 2 hours of my life explaining the entire FNAF lore, and I've heard Security Breach does so much more. And I don't... FNAF is something I love. But still, you reach a point where you're like, okay, is this maybe a bit too much? Let's keep talking about Poppy Playtime. This game is a game about a person, an employee returning... God. Here. As an ex-employee of Playtime Co., you finally return to the factory many years after everybody within disappeared. So, that's essentially the events of Chapter 1. You go in, you do a couple of niche tasks with this thing called, grabber gloves or whatever, essentially, grappling hooks that double as grabber hands. You do that, this guy chases you down a couple of times, you kill him, you go into this place, you find a creepy doll, that doll helps you out in Chapter 2. it's Enchanted Mob games and everything that surrounds this is just so horror for kids that I cannot tell you enough. It's literally one of the first options. They have settings. They have play, merch, settings, quit. They they literally just they make they literally have made all of this shit and the game isn't even finished. They're just trying to capitalize on the hype for the rest of the game when we all know the rest of the game is probably gonna be okay. Like, again, hate the developers, not the game. But still, you spend all this time. Why not make the game come out faster? I get it. You want to capitalize on hype, but still, just Enchanted Mob is just not a good studio. Especially the founders. The rest of the employees working below them, like the artists and everything, they're fine. They're great people. They get paid to draw this shit. That's fine. What my problem is that the people who run Enchanted Mob have just so many controversies going around them that this is honestly not even worth my time to play. Like, I'm not spending money for extra chapters to support shitty people. Even though I fell for it once with Bendy, I'm probably going to buy Bendy in the Dark Revival out of nostalgia. And because I think that after the controversies, the developers have changed. Everyone can change. Even Enchanted Mob, who have made a bunch of apologies for all the controversy surrounding them, which I don't trust yet. We're going to have to see. But the Bendy people, I believe, have learned, after all of their bad business decisions, that I think it can work again. But I don't know, man. It's just the entire horror for kids thing is it's so shitty. Like, I get it. I get the benefits. But still, most of the time, by becoming horror for kids, you throw out any chance of your game being a legitimate cult classic. Like FNAF. FNAF changed everything. Without FNAF, Bendy wouldn't be here probably. Poppy Playtime probably wouldn't be here. And that's for better or for worse. Sorry I went off on a rant. I just hate horror for kids so much. But Poppy Playtime is like, it's $10 per chapter compared to Bendy's $5. And even then, Chapter 1 originally costed $5, and Chapter 2 originally costed $5. But recently they made Chapter 2 $10 and Chapter 1 free, which pissed off a lot of people who paid $5 for the first chapter and now have to pay $10 for the next chapter. It's just annoying. I hate it. I hate shitty people. I hate shitty business decisions. I hate shitty games. I'm gonna end this here. I think I've done enough ranting for one day. This really went off the rails. I am so sorry. But hey, it's unscripted. What are you gonna do? I'll see you guys in another episode. Thank you for sticking with Thank you for sticking with this awful episode, because this is just I am not proud of this. This was bad. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one, and a hopefully better one, and a hopefully more happy one. Bye.